This is The Wire for 2300 Zulu, February 16th, 2026. Precedence is routine. Information cutoff is 2200. Bottom line up front. Concerns are growing for 2 captured American pilots detained in West Africa. United States seizes oil tanker in Indian Ocean. Beginning with international events, in the Indian Ocean, over the weekend, the United States seized the tanker Veronica 3, one of the tankers which fled Venezuela in the wake of the fall of the Maduro government. The vessel was boarded and seized due to carrying oil in violation of American sanctions. In West Africa, concerns are growing concerning the safety of 2 American pilots who were illegally detained by authorities in Guinea almost 6 weeks ago. On December 29th, Brad Schlenker and Fabio Espinal Nunez were piloting a private charter flight when they diverted to Guinea to refuel. They were given permission to land, and upon taxiing to the terminal were greeted by armed soldiers. Both pilots have been detained since the incident. Analyst comments for this wire. As of right now, the issue of the pilots in Guinea is still in the realm of diplomacy, as the families of the captives have been working with the embassy to secure the pilots' release. Since this line of effort has not yielded any progress, the families have gone to the media with the hope that a media blitz will pressure the White House to speed along their release. All of this can probably be handled with a phone call, but just in case a more active response is called for, an understanding of the terrain might be helpful. So far, many details remain unknown, as the initial circumstances of the detention are hard to verify. Flying for a regional charter airline in Africa is one of the most dangerous jobs a pilot can take, simply due to the corruption that is rampant throughout the continent. As such, it was an odd choice to choose to land in this country in particular, which has led to many to assess that there is more to the story than meets the eye. The status of the original charter itself is also not known. Some reports state that this flight was a ferry flight moving an aircraft that was recently sold, i.e. no passengers on board, whereas other reports state that they were flying a Brazilian family to Dubai. In any case, taking the story at face value, the pilots diverted to Guinea for fuel and upon landing probably did not have enough cash on hand for the required bribes. Verbal permission to land is not good enough in Africa, and every stage along the way involves greasing palms, which always demand more. In this case, these pilots are currently serving as a bargaining chip, having chosen to land in Guinea at the worst possible time, during a state of military coup. General Mamdani Doumbouya is currently running the country after winning the election 1 day before these pilots landed. Doumbouya was the leader of the 2021 coup that overthrew the previous government, and over the past few years, the beleaguered nation has been host to the standard Western African experience of poverty and violence while under military rule. Now that he's made his warlord status official, his government is probably looking to increase his standing. Nothing pads the ego of an African warlord quite like snatching a couple of Americans so as to get the attention of the United States. The mere dialogue with the U.S. alone will increase the legitimacy of his government. However, Doumbouya might find that his little stunt gets the wrong kind of attention from the United States if the pilots are not released immediately. Whatever the pilots did, if anything, to get detained is not a good enough excuse to avoid American involvement. The United States has proven over the past year that the U.S. military will bomb a country back to the Stone Age for nothing more than a Klondike bar, so Doumbouya would be wise to correct this issue immediately. On the ground, the situation is not great. Schlenker and Nunez have been allowed access to a phone semi-regularly and have been making contact with family after their detention. State Department officials have also reportedly visited the prisoners in person, confirming that they are still alive. The exact facility that the pilots are being held in is not known. However, they have stated that they are located in Conakry, so they are probably being held somewhere inside Conakry Central Prison, also known as Maison Centrale in French, which is the only known detention facility in the area. It is possible the pilots are being held elsewhere. However, historically, most leaders of African nations tend to keep a close eye on their political prisoners, and Guinea's history is no different, with the main prison being located a short distance from the presidential residences. This is important, as if this is where the pilots are being held, they probably will not survive much longer. This facility is nestled in the heart of heavily urbanized terrain at the southwestern end of the peninsula, which contains Guinea's capital city of Conakry. As far as prisons go, this facility is a standard example of the typical African prison, and conditions inside the compound are horrific at best and non-survivable at worst due to extremely harsh living conditions brought on by overcrowding, as well as the brutality of the guards who frequently torture prisoners. The terrain surrounding the compound is dense urban city with little open ground. The target compound itself is encircled by slums to the north and east and protected by a mud brick wall approximately 8 feet tall and 1 to 2 feet thick. Inside the perimeter sits a scattered array of one-story buildings, most of which are of cinder block construction. Otherwise, defenses bases throughout the peninsula are sparse, with most weapon systems being centered around the standard technical with a mounted crew-served weapon. It is likely that no manpads or other more sophisticated air defenses are located in the area. Most military forces are scattered sporadically, with the main bulk of somewhat organized forces being concentrated at the airport, 7 miles to the northeast. All in all, if Doumbouya wants to take his chances, he's certainly welcome to do so. However, it would be wise for him to seek a diplomatic solution immediately. This concludes The Wire for 2300 Zulu, February 16th, 2026.